AITA for refusing to eat, knowing my Mill will not eat if I don't, and causing her to faint. We currently live with my husband's mom and she does a lot for us. I truly appreciate that because we got ourselves into a financial rut. Mill is a hardcore perfectionist who always has to be the best at everything to the point it is completely toxic. She was taught growing up to never eat if someone else isn't. And as a teen that spiraled into never be the only woman eating. It was ingrained in her by her very overweight mother to never let anyone think she was a pig, not. Surprisingly, Mill and her sister both have serious issues with food. This is insane obviously, but she is also an doctor who doesn't work normal hours. So this makes it even worse. We are someplace that is probably in the third or fourth wave, so she has been working crazy hours. The other day she took us after work to do some errands. We don't have a car at the moment. But she said it was fine because she needed groceries. The grocery store sold food you could eat there and she asked if we wanted any. I had just eaten so I said no, but she should eat since she just got off work. She insisted she wasn't hungry and was just thinking about us. By the end of the shopping she seemed to be shaking and asked again if we wanted anything. My husband said he'd eat something just because he felt bad for her. I wasn't hungry and said no. She ended up leaving without eating. Then we went home and she fainted. I don't know if it was just not from eating. She has been working like 20-hour shifts pretty routinely. Now her boyfriend is pissed at me and says I should have eaten something so she would. I said she is a grown woman and I don't feel responsible, but he said I know who she is. Called me an ungrateful bitch. And said it's my fault she fainted. Info. Why didn't you and your husband sort out your errands so Mill could have gotten home from her 20-hour shift as an doctor and gotten some food and rest? Don't you think you're taking advantage of this woman enough? To then knowingly ask her of this before she's eaten. To know her hang up with food. To see her in obvious distress and to still hold your stance is almost cruel. You saw how your husband was responding to the situation. Why couldn't you bother to follow his lead? No judgment, please talk to her about finding a therapist, she really needs help. Her boyfriend is the asshole. You're not responsible for her trauma. Putting that on you is out of line. It's also going to make Mill feel guilty, so he's hurting everyone here. Mill needs therapy. NTA. You can't be held responsible for another person's disordered eating. And you mustn't ever let anyone else's disordered eating affect your own healthy and orderly relationship with food. Your Mill is an adult. And so she is responsible for taking care of her own health. YTA. From the comments you left. Knowing she wouldn't eat while she's doing 20-hour shifts and was helping you and all you had to do was eat something? Massive YTA. YTA. She's in no way required to help you out, but she still does out of kindness, yet you can't even do a small gesture for her? It also seems that you're implying that her ed is a choice and that she shouldn't be irrational because she's a grown adult. Well, that's the thing. Most people suffering from psychological disorders often act irrationally, so people around them should try their best to be considerate and understanding. She is a grown woman and I don't feel responsible. Well, you and your husband are both grown-ups, so why are you asking your Mill for financial help? You're grown-ups. So deal with your problem yourselves. See how ridiculous it sounds when the roles are reversed. YTA. Op was fully aware of Mill's eating disorder and how it affected her. Mill was so hungry that she was visibly shaking. Sugar crash. Mill was out with them instead of eating at home because she was driving them around for errands. After a 20-hour shift. Where due to her ed it's unlikely she'd eaten then too, and Op would know this. Op also calls Mill toxic, yet has no problem moving in because they are in a financial rut. Meaning they'd be homeless if not for Mill. Op was clearly trying to teach Mill a lesson, even though she is A. not a mental health professional, B. is currently living with Mill because of her own financial issues, C. lets Mill run them around for their errands even though D. Mill works 20-plus hour shifts as an doctor. Op. 1000% YTA. ETA. YTA. See the below comments for some pretty essential extra information. INFO. Is this the first time this has come up, or is this the last straw in months of forcing yourself to eat at the same time as her? Do you have a history of EDs, and if yes, is it known to your BF and his family? Has your Mill ever tried to get help with this? And how was it managed before you moved in? i.e. when there wasn't another woman in the house? I don't mean to sound probing, but genuinely struggling to judge this. On the one hand, obviously you are not responsible for managing someone else's disordered eating. On the other hand, it's really not that much of an ask. Coming from someone with pretty serious mental health issues who has given you a lot of support. Definitely Ta. Mill clearly has problems and is working her backside off during a pandemic. Why on earth wouldn't you sit, get a drink and a biscuit and just nibble on it? Or if she was wanting you to get a meal, just do it and pick. I can't begin to understand the thoughtlessness you showed. Her eating disorder is your issue too, as families support each other. She's an awesome woman by the sounds of it, and you have let yourself and her down. YTA. She has an eating disorder. You know this. And you wouldn't have even a nibble? People saying that she is an adult and should take responsibility for her life are ignoring that. You are an adult. And through that lens, you aren't being responsible for your own life. This woman works in an during a fucking pandemic. You are living in her house. For free. With no car. Like a little child. Show some gratitude and give her a break. Everyone who works in don't have time to focus on their mental health right now. You, Amandomaree. Eating when she eats is the least you can do. She's an overwhelmed doctor trying to get through the worst phase of the pandemic so far. Even if she'd previously been making progress with her eating disorder, the stress of the current situation may have caused a setback. You're a family member who's being allowed to live in her house. She offered to take you grocery shopping after a long, exhausting shift. And you knew she wouldn't eat if you didn't. She probably doesn't get many opportunities to eat at work because she's likely in full PPE for most of her shift. And doctors don't usually get much time for breaks. Especially given the current situation. She definitely needs professional help. But it seems like a little family support right now would probably go a long way. If you genuinely were so full you couldn't eat anything, just get something small and pretend to nibble on it a little bit. She's financially supporting you right now. It seems reasonable for you to be able to provide a small amount of emotional support for her. We currently live with my husband's mom and she does a lot for us. You really couldn't eat a snack for a woman you claimed does a lot for you? Yeah, major YTA. She's a grown woman. You are too. Yet you don't have a house or a car. She took you in and drove you to a grocery store. OMG, the disconnect. Info. I don't really get this. Why wouldn't you order something? It seems like such a tiny favor to do for someone who's providing you a home and driving you around to order something tiny and nibble on it. You're not the asshole for not eating. Obviously. But sometimes in life we aim for better than not being an asshole. YTA. Unpopular opinion but YTA. Yes, your Mill obviously needs therapy. But she's busting her ass at work and is letting you stay with her in her house. Would it have killed you to nibble on a couple crackers just so that the woman didn't literally faint from starvation? Jesus. Jeez. This woman works 20-hour days as an doctor in these times, and she's housing you and driving you around? And you know of her eating disorder. YTA, you are both such the assholes here. Eat with her so she eats. And then, after work with encouraging her to get therapy over the next few months. Fuck. That poor woman. You two are monsters. Major YTA here, and my reasoning why. Her ed is not your problem in the exact same way your financial rut is not her problem. She took you in knowing her previously controlled ed would be exacerbated by your presence. And hello, the stress any doc would be in during a gosh darn pandemic. She's a grown woman. So where's her ordered eating? You're a grown woman too. So where's your house and car? See how that sounds? So your Mill is taking care of you and your husband. And after an insane shift during the worst of the pandemic, she drives you to get groceries. And you, happy to take advantage of her kindness and compassion. Let her faint because not your responsibility? F that. If your Mill had that attitude, you'd be on the street. Compassion costs $0. Funny how your Mill can help you financially even though is your responsibility as an adult. But you can't help her with her mental struggles. If you don't care for her enough to help her, maybe get the hell out her house so that she doesn't have to worry about other people not eating when she needs to. NTA. Her boyfriend, your husband, her friends, etc. Anyone could get mad at you and yet it wouldn't reflect poorly on you. If she fainted, it wasn't because you chose not to eat, but because of what her sick mother engraved in both of her daughters' minds. It'd be nice if everyone took this as a chance to persist her on getting therapy and not to enable her even more. By the way, you can also get sick by eating too much, so their logic is that she shouldn't get sick but you should so that she doesn't? What a brain teaser. Edit. Thank you for the awards.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.